Hello and welcome, everybody. We are back with another Gunner's Voice podcast. I know it's been quite a while, guys. Please excuse me for being shirtless. It's actually so hot. If you're joining us in South Africa, you know, especially in Joburg, it's cooking. It is hot. It's not Arsenal that's making me feel flustered and stuff. Arsenal actually, yeah. Ugh. Gents. Well, before we get started, guys, obviously, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the comment section. Get in touch with us in the comments. We'll try to get through as many comments as we can during the show. Without further ado, guys, I'd like to welcome Dane back. Obviously, if you've been on the podcast before, you've watched us before, you know Dane is quite a regular on both the Gunner's Voice and the Toxic Show. So, Dane, welcome in.
How's it, guys? How's it,
And
guys?
then
Good to
we
see you
have a
again. It's been a while.
debutant on the
It's
show.
been good to be back on.
Yeah, bro, that really has. And then we obviously got a debutant on the show, guys. We've got Dano, who, if you watch the Chelsea fan cams, you'd see that Dano had one of his own fan cams, and he actually interviewed me for my fan cam. So Dano, welcome to the show, bro. Welcome, and obviously, hopefully, you back for many more.
Yeah.
Without
Thanks for
further ado,
having me.
guys, I think this
It's
might as well just get started. Sorry, Dan, I'm having a bit of lag, bro. So yeah, sorry, go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
no problem. I was just gonna say thanks for having me. Obviously, like and subscribe, hit the comments, and it's been a lot has happened since that Chelsea game. A lot of disappointing results, a few good ones, but keen to get into it.
100%. And obviously, guys, like Daniel said, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, get in touch with us in the comment section. As always, we'll try to get through to your comments as we go through the show. Gents, I think let me open up the floor and just ask, since obviously I think the last time I linked up with you guys was the Chelsea game in person. Since then, we've had a bit of look. The run hasn't actually been that bad. We haven't lost since then. You know, um, with just a couple of draws here and there, which is kind of dampened the mood. I mean, if you look at it was international break, it was Chelsea international break, Forest, Sporting, United, uh,
Mm.
then Fulham, Monaco, and now obviously we had Everton. And I mean, that's only two draws in the last six games. Um,
Mm.
it's not the worst possible form to be in. But Dano, I've seen you in the group chat, bro. You've been quite critical, and not in a negative way, but I think you obviously your expectations and your standards for this season are quite high, and I think rightfully so. I think the boys and Ateta are the reason why we have these expectations. But just from post international break, bro, how have you found Arsenal's form and like what has been, because obviously looking at the Arsenal fan base on Twitter and in our group chats, there's been a lot of discourse. Some people are really unhappy,
Mm.
some people are like myself are not content, but kind of more, how would I say, calm about where we are right now. I just want to get your headspace, bro. What do you think of Arsenal at the moment, bro? What have you made of the form since the international break?
Yeah, it's been a very mixed bag. I think there were those three results, like you said, Sporting, and there was the United game. I can't think of the other one now. But those were very promising and great results to watch. Great watch, flawless performance attacking wise and defensively. But in terms of the performances against Fulham and Everton, there's a lot of worry, not in terms of, I mean, crazy enough, we have so many injuries at the back, but that has not been where our problems have come from, really. It's always come from the attack, and it seems like the only person who looks like he wants to do something in the attack is Saka. When I see Jesus come on or Trossard, and as much as I love Trossard, he's fallen off a cliff. Same with Martinelli. I'm a big fan of Martinelli. But seeing them just fall off a cliff this season, especially Trossard and Martinelli, it's been very disappointing. And seeing people like Jesus, in my opinion, doesn't really inspire confidence. Coming from someone who, openly said that he's not the best at scoring goals. And then I think in terms of the performances that we did really well with, you could see that Arteta let loose. Um, he loosened the chains on the players, but you see with the Everton and Fulham games, there was something just holding them back. I don't know if there was a bit of lethargy or tiredness. I know Rice looked absolutely finished when he was playing before he came off. But the form of, for example, Odegaard, who we were really anticipating to come in and, uh, let's say, transform consistently, it hasn't really happened that way. There've been maybe 2 or 3 games that's happened, but against the Fulhams and the Evertons, you would expect him to rise up and get some more involvement. You know, being substituted, I think 3 games in a row now for a 17-year-old says a lot.
No, and look, Dano, I think you're right, bro. Is that like you said, we've had some injuries to our defenders, but again, defensively, we're not looking vulnerable. You know, where you think we should because of the lack of defensive numbers we have. We're not looking as vulnerable. It's just something in the attack is missing. And you know, I've been one of the few people that have been saying like, oh, I don't think we need a striker. Do we? But I don't think it's a striker per se. I mean, the player could be a striker. I just think we need something else in the front line. I think our front line doesn't instill fear in the opponents. You know,
I think that's
Saka
on the
on his
left.
own is not
I
going to
think
do
the
that
left has
every
been
game.
glaring.
You know,
The left-hand side.
100%. I think, and if you're being honest, guys, I think, I mean, Saka had a really good season last season on the right wing. Havertz had a good second half of the season. The minute he went up front, he still kind of continued that form this season, even though of late he's been a bit on hit and miss. But the left-hand side for the past season and a half, you can call it now, from last season up until this point, has been completely dead. You know,
Fact.
look at Martinelli, and I don't know if you guys managed to catch Thierry Henry's analysis yesterday. And I think that's something that I've been calling off in the groups. I said, bro, Martinelli doesn't take on his man anymore. And that's the most frustrating thing. That was Martinelli's biggest strength. Now, I don't know if it's down to confidence. I don't know if it's down to lack of form, but I don't know. Can you call it confidence? Can you call it lack of form for close to a season and a half, bro? Or was that just a decline? You know what I'm saying? Like, at what point,
Yeah.
you know, for me, like, at what point is it like, okay, you know, Jesus, for example, you look at Grealish at City, who hasn't scored in in almost a year. That's not bad form, bro. That's just you just not on the levels, bro. And I think Arsenal,
Yeah.
where I think Arteta needs to learn from Pep, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, is Pep has a sense of ruthlessness, and unfortunately, he didn't do it this past season. And I think if he did, City would have been first again. But Pep is very quick to refuse that squad. And I think Arteta, I think it's maybe down to wanting to win with those group of players that he maybe doesn't want to break it apart. But that's going to be the downfall of him because he's going to keep players that I think are not good enough and are actually holding us back. Jesus,
But
Martinelli, I'm sorry, bro.
do you
Like
think that's
those two guys are just not doing it.
do you think that's a ruthlessness thing? Like, I
Go
mean,
ahead,
if you
Dana. Go
look
ahead,
at
bro.
what he did with Aubameyang and what he did with Ozil, I know that's quite a while back, but for me, it seems to be, you know, Martinelli not taking his man on. It's near non-existent. I think that's very much a coaching thing. I think he's been coached not to do that. I think that there've been maybe 1 or 2 moments in all these games that we've seen it maybe this season, but by and large, you know, we all know he can take on a man, even if he's lost a bit of pace or a bit of confidence. I mean, the coach should be egging him on and being like, "Yo, just keep going, you know, keep going, because that's what he did. You know, when he was hitting it, he just kept going and kept testing it. But I definitely think it's a large part of it is down to a coaching thing. I just don't think Arteta is making the best use of him in that sense. I mean, look at how well he did in 22-23. And there's just something missing. And I don't think it's just down to the confidence. Obviously, those are factors, but I think there's just something coaching that's not clicking there.
Dana, let me bring you in quickly, bro. I actually want to ask you regarding this comment, you know, and also just touching on Daniel's points there. It says our attack looks extremely lethargic, almost like we lack ambition, no hunger, and that's from Ashwin. Dane, obviously, bro, you've also been quite critical of Arsenal. I know what you and I've had quite a number of debates in the various groups that we're in. You know, we've ended up having 3 different conversations in the various groups, bro. But you know, you've shown the underlying numbers, and you said that, you know, our XG for the season is down, the amount of goals that we scored is down, and you know, my counter argument that we've had a bit of injuries, and like I was actually thinking about it earlier, is that we haven't seen Arteta play his preferred starting 11 for 5 games in a row. You know, like for this season, for example, we don't know what our preferred starting 11 is because we just haven't seen it at any point this season. And my question to you is, do you think that it's down more to what Arteta is doing, or do you think that the team has maybe outgrown certain players in this project? You know, like Martinelli was good to a point, and so was Jesus. And maybe it's just time that we move them on, or do you think that Arteta needs to do better to get more out of these guys?
Yeah, I think a lot of things. I mean, I just want to go back to what you were saying earlier about our left-hand side has been poor for a year and a half. I would say Martinelli's been poor for a year and a half, but Trossard was our second highest goal scorer last year. So he definitely had a good season last year, and he hasn't done well this year. He's also played a lot out of position in Odegaard's position most of the season. So I think he struggled to find his feet on the left after being in Odegaard's position. So there's that element. Then there's our left side is always changing. There's always a new left back. There's always a new left centre mid. So whereas the right side is generally Timber White that it's been or Party. So I mean, it's also been changing. So I must admit it has been changing. But Saka's a constant, and Odegaard has now been back and is more like consistent there. So they're forming that triangle with Timber and Odegaard and Saka. And then in terms of underlying number, that whole discussion, I think it's a combination of so many things. I think it's we didn't buy enough players that were going to be level raisers in the window. So there's that element. So there's the recruiting element. Then there's the injuries element. So we for 2 seasons from 2022 to 2022, 23, 23, 24, we didn't have a lot of injuries. I actually looked it up today. We were like sitting 11th and 12th in the league for the amount of injuries we had, and we can't bank on that happening every season. So we actually went into the season with a smaller squad in the league with 22 players. So I think that was a big problem, and that's where Ashwin's comment comes in. Where we look tired, we look lethargic, is because we don't have as big of a squad as other teams do to rotate and to freshen things up. So I think it's a multi-layered problem. I think there also is tactics. Like I've spoken about it before. I don't know if it was on the Toxic show or on the group. It's difficult to keep track. But if you look at Arteta, if you look at systems versus individual brilliance, Pep is more on the system side, but then he has individual brilliance as well. So, but he's like the one who started the whole like more having a system that people then fit into. And then you get Ancelotti and Klopp, which are more on the individual brilliance side, and they have a more transitional attack, and it's less system. Arteta started actually in the middle. I felt like, especially there's times when he had a strong system, and there's other times like he relied on Aubameyang's individual brilliance at the beginning, and then he relied on Saka and Martinelli in the 2022-23 season, and Odegaard in the 2022-23 season. But it feels like, as Dana was saying, it feels like we've shifted so hard to the system side, and it feels like the creativity has been stunted. And it's like, in the beginning, I'm making a long point here, I'm sorry, but like I think the system is actually what helped Havertz to thrive, whereas Chelsea is much more individual brilliance. So Havertz knew that if he arrives at the front post at this time, you're going to get a goal, you're going to get a flick on, you're going to do this. And he needs stability. Odegaard, remember the O-zone, he was scoring so many goals by the penalty box. Martinelli on the back post, there
we
was a
haven't
lot
seen
of
that at all.
crosses. Yeah. So, but it's interesting because I think teams have figured out our systems, and we need to come up with either new systems or allow them to be individually brilliant again and try things. So, a long point, but I just feel like we need to go back to having a bit of both and not just rely on the system, because when the system gets figured out, then we are figured out.
Dane, do you think in that regard someone like Sterling could bring an X factor?
I think so. I think he's also done better at Man City, ironically, where there is a system. So he didn't do well at Chelsea, where there was a bit more chaos. So I think he hasn't played on the left much. He's only played on the right. And I think he also, if you look at his goals in the past, he scored more goals as a false nine than in any other position. So we've only seen him on the right and not much on the left and in the center. So I just feel like he's been underused. Shannon,
Look,
are you
if
there?
you're going to ask me with regards to Sterling, guys, I think that also if you look at it midfield wise, we don't have anybody that's willing to play those balls in between the lines for the likes of Sterling, for the likes of Trossard. Those. It's like I don't know if you guys have noticed. It always seems like Arsenal trying to pass around the opposition and not through.
Mhm.
And if you're gonna go
100%.
around the opposition, right, you're gonna need someone on the touchline who can beat the man and then get the ball in. For example, and guys, Kieran Tierney can beat someone on the outside and whip a ball in. That's as good as a Martinelli step over. Do you get what I'm saying? Like it moves the defense a bit. But unfortunately, Arteta is so persistent on the inverted fullbacks that it's like when this doesn't happen, you then there's no plan B. And I think that someone like look at Lewis Skelly against Monaco, that ball he played. When last have we seen that from an Arsenal midfielder? When last have we seen that type of ball? Quick one, like quick touches out your feet. That opened Monaco up in like 3 seconds, guys. That was like four passes and it was a goal. And yes, it's nice sometimes to see Arsenal score a 20 pass goal. That's cool. But sometimes you just want the 2022 2023 season where
Yeah.
we were just direct. Like we're just going for teams. Like you just straight up direct. And I think you're right there. And I think Arteta has kind of coasted out of those of players, right? But at the same time, I then think he needs to platform those that he trusts. For example, if he trusts Saka to be the guy, then he needs to give Saka, in my opinion, more license to do, for example, things like less pressing, less tracking back. And obviously, he's not going to do that, but it's like you need to give someone in the team the keys to the castle. Someone needs to feel like, okay, I can do anything at any point. And Saka is the only one who does that, but he only seems to do it from one position. Saka is our biggest threat, but it takes a lot from Saka or for Saka to get into position to score. If you look at guys like Salah, look at guys like Cole Palmer. They get the ball in and around the 18-yard area, the edge of the box, those good areas where they can score goals. And I think, unfortunately for Arsenal, we currently find ourselves in a position where we aren't platforming the players to their strengths. We aren't giving Martinelli the ball quick enough sometimes, in my opinion, for him to beat his man one-on-one. There's a lot of times where, for example, Zinchenko will get the ball, or Gabriel, and they'll look at Martinelli, and he's one-on-one on the touchline, and then they won't pass him the ball. Or they'll pass when he's got 2 men on him, and it's, there's not that necessarily the support that Saka has. And I think, I don't know if you guys have been on Twitter or anything. There's a guy, I think his name is No New Thing. I'm sure you guys have seen that account. He's quite the how do I say, the villain of Arsenal Twitter. He basically has this thing called he calls it Odegaardism or something like that. It's like some cliche term or some term he's coined. But basically, he was saying that I think Odegaard is kind of deceptive in a sense that Odegaard is not the type of player that's gonna unblock defenses maybe in and around the pockets. He's more of a deep line playmaker. And I think Dane, you mentioned that before. I think Odegaard can play with Rice and Waneri. I think Waneri is someone that you need to maybe platform in that number 10 position, or move Saka more centrally and then maybe play a Sterling or a Jesus on the right wing. You know what I'm saying? Like Saka's played in the middle before. Saka is very comfortable. I mean, look at the goal he scored against Forest. That was a goal scored from the center of the goal. Like, got the ball in the box, ran across the 18-yard area, banged it on top of into the roof of the net. Saka is able to play almost anywhere he wants. He's just got the quality to do that. And I think Arteta, and that's what, sorry guys, my whole point is that I think Arteta, I think he feels like he'll get crucified for doing something brave. I think I would rather Arsenal lose and Arteta's being brave and going for bold decisions and trying something different. For example, just say he goes for 3-4-3 one game. Just for example, just something where he's trying to be innovative and go for it. As for the predictable substitutions that 65 minutes, Martinelli for Trossard or Trossard for Martinelli. Do you know what I'm saying? Like he's become so predictable that you can even predict his substitutions. And I think when you get to that point, there is clearly a staleness in either your ideas or in the team. And I think, that's where I think Arsenal are currently. I don't think Arsenal are bad. I think Arsenal are stale. We don't have new things. We don't have something new that, in my opinion, we are bringing to the opposition. Monaco, for example, decided to put 3 guys on the halfway line. Now our corners are not being found out, but there's kind of a counter to that. And I think Arteta's job from now till January is to then come up with some sort of tactical change. But then I'm very much on the board that need to go and back him in January. Because I think if you look at his quotes, Arteta's really been asking, he's been saying, the last 20 meters, or did he say 20 meters or like 20 yards of the field, I can't coach that into the players. Either you have it or you don't. And I think what he's saying is that he needs a killer. He needs someone that's going to be able to take the chance that Arsenal creating. We aren't not creating. It's just that I don't know how to say it to you guys. Something is just this is the taste. It's really giving a bad taste in my mouth. It's not like that we can't say, because I'm very much in the opinion that Arsenal can still win the league. I'm very much still in that camp, but something, and I can't deny it, is missing from this attack. So let me bring that to you, Daniel. Would you go into the window, and before you answer the question, would you go in for a striker per se, or more of a left forward?
Yeah, I think left forward will give a lot of balance. When I think back to, let's say, what Klopp did, where we have, let's say, a Salah equivalent in Saka, but it's so heavily biased towards that side. If we get like Dane came up with the idea of having Kudus from West Ham, Mohamed Kudus, that would provide such a great counterbalance in terms not just of creativity, but also finishing and bringing others into play and switching positions. So I think the left would be more of a priority. I think Havertz has shown that he can finish. He just needs the service from the left, in my opinion.
Look, and I know, Dane, I'm going to bring you in quickly, but guys, just obviously, when you mentioned Kudus, obviously I think Kudus is more of a difficult transfer, because I think West Ham might not want to sell to us as willingly as they did with. No, okay, they didn't do it willingly with Rice either. I just think that their fans don't want to see them sell to Arsenal. Another player that I think is quite similar to that in Kudus is Semenyo from Bournemouth, who I think we could prize away in January. I think that someone like Semenyo, not saying he'll push for a move, but Bournemouth, I don't think they would want to, even though he's one of their best players this season, I don't think they would stand in his way. Where I think West Ham with Kudus more likely would, and I think a player like that, a player that's a bit chaotic, Kudus is very unpredictable because he's also able to use left and right. He's able to go either way. It's like Mane. Mane was always, guys, Salah was good against Arsenal, but Mane always terrorized us, because it was very difficult to play against Mane. I don't know if you remember the game at the Emirates where he scored and then he jumped on Klopp's back. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
There's a game where and then Klopp turned around, he jumped on Klopp's back. He scored that goal from the right-hand side. He cut through like three players, hit it into the roof of the net pass, better check.
Yeah, it was the opening game of the season. That was
other goals.
2016, I think.
Didn't Coutinho score that free kick? Coutinho scored a free kick that game as well.
Yeah.
I remember that game. So, and it's just like that. For example, Arsenal don't have that. Saka is able to do that in bursts, but I still think we need someone that is like being able to take on. Look at Ali. Saka is able to take on 4 or 5 players. I'm actually rubbish. But I think from the left-hand side, I think we need someone like that. Where it's like Havertz for me is a good player to have in the center. I think he links it up very well. But if you've got 2 wingers who are complete goal threats, I think that's what makes it a bit better. It's where, unfortunately for us, we only have one real goal threat, guys. Like, if I ask you now, do you think that Havertz will score in the next game 100%? You wouldn't be able to bet on it. If I ask you about Jesus, you wouldn't be able to bet on it. Martinelli, you wouldn't be able to bet on it. Trossard, maybe. Sterling, you wouldn't. Saka is the only guy where you would say, listen, I think he'll score. And I think when it comes to that, I think that becomes a bit of a problem. And Dane, just want to bring you onto this point from Ernest. He said, would you guys take Rashford? And Rashford has been he's been very much discussed. So your thoughts on, would you take Rashford, Dane?
I like the profile in terms of fast, good on the transition, something that we don't have. I like the profile, but I just feel that the actual player has been too inconsistent. He's had 130 goal season, and the rest is, and then he had like last season he didn't have a good season. So the previous season he had a 30 goal season, then the previous season before that he had a bad season, and then the previous season before that he had a good season. He's just too inconsistent for what we need, and his wages are too high. So I don't think I would take Rashford unless we got him on a free or something like where it was very beneficial to us. I would I'm a big Kudus fan because he's actually played on the left more this year. He played on the right last year, now he's playing on the left. So he's playing like a traditional left. He's left-footed. He's playing like a left-footed winger, so not cutting back and shooting on his right. And because Bowen's playing on the right, if I believe, at the moment. And the other thing about Kudus is he can back up Odegaard at attacking mid. So that's why I like him as well as that. If Odegaard is not having a good game, then Kudus can play there and be creative. And his dual winning numbers is one of the highest in the league. And his dribbling numbers are one of the best in the league. So there's 2 years of experience, or 1.5 years of experience in the league. He's done well in the league. So as I said, I'm a big Kudus fan. With Semenyo, I think it is a good option. I think he'll be cheaper with Kudus, just to bring it in that he does have a release clause, so we don't need to worry about West Ham if they want to sell to us or not. He's got an 80 million release clause, so if we put up the cash, then we've got him. So I think that's the kind of difference with the Rice situation, where they didn't want to sell to us, they didn't want to sell to a rival, and they wanted a pretty penny. So, but I do think that we need some freshening up. I think that it's tricky because, like, I love Martinelli, but I just am worried that, like, if he regresses more, we're going to lose more value on him, and then probably need to sell him in July. So I'm not saying sell him now, but I'm just like, there's something that needs to change. Like, even playing him centrally might be an option. Because we did play him centrally in the beginning of his career. So I wouldn't mind resting Havertz, playing Martinelli centrally, because then his pace is more like because fullbacks tend to be faster and centre-backs tend to be not as fast, other than Van der Ven. He's like an anomaly as a centre-back. But if he's running against pacey fullbacks, he's not going to outpace them as much as he'll outpace a centre back. So that's one of the things. I think it was on the other group that we were on, Shannon, where they posted I think it was you that posted it, with Martinelli as a.
No, there's another guy. His name is KG.
Oh, was it KG? Okay, yeah. So
and sorry, Dave. Yeah, that just brings me.
Go
Sorry,
for
brother. I was gonna say that actually just brings me to like that, and like what I was saying, that if you are Teta, right, who are your best finishers in the team? Havertz, Saka, Trossard, Martinelli. Those are probably the 3 best finishers. Let's be honest, guys. If we're Martinelli on form and finishing ability, he's shown it before. So why not try get him more centrally placed? Like you're saying, Dan, why not try Martinelli at centre forward? Got the pace, got the tenacity. He's shown it before. Can score with his head, can score with his feet, and I think that's where Teta also needs to be a bit more brave. That you can't just keep doing the same thing every week. Like, okay, Martinelli's gonna play left wing, and then like Trossard's gonna play for him in 65 minutes. Like, it's just, like I said, it's becoming too predictable, and I think that's where Arsenal fans are frustrated. Is that it's not that I don't feel like we're regressing. I feel like we're stagnant, and that's the issue. We're not going forward. Because I don't think, gents, let's be honest. If I asked you at the beginning of the season and I didn't give you context, I said by December Arsenal would be 6 points off the top, and I didn't tell you that I didn't say Liverpool first, and let's just assume City were first. I said to you, Arsenal 6 points off the top, third in the Champions League group, 1 win away from qualification in the Carabao quarterfinal. I guarantee most of us would be like, okay, no, that sounds like a good start to the season. Like, that's not bad considering that we're only in December, And I think when I look at the fan base, I think a lot of fans are frustrated because they're thinking that City are doing poorly, so we need to automatically capitalize. But at the same time, I think that the league is so unpredictable, guys. Again, Arsenal now, this is what I maintain. Liverpool have been fantastic. Liverpool, I'm not saying they've hit their peak, but they've been really good this season, right? They're only 6 points ahead of us. Chelsea fans are so loud. Oh, Chelsea is so good. They're only 4 points behind them. If we compare Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool, which of those 3 teams do not hit their peak yet? Arsenal. Also, the only team to not hit their peak yet, which I'm okay with, because I would prefer us to hit our peak in the second half of the season anyway. Be within touching distance now, because Chelsea must come to the Emirates. Spurs need to come to the Emirates. City needs to come to the Emirates. Yes, you're going to go to Anfield and Old Trafford. That's going to be very tough, don't get me wrong. But for example, if you have half of the top 6 teams coming to the Emirates, that's more in your favor, especially in the second half of the season. Imagine having to go to Stamford Bridge, Tottenham, and City trying to win the league. That's like those are 3 tough places. Obviously, Anfield and Old Trafford are probably the 2 most difficult, in my opinion, in terms of Arsenal traditional history. Yes, we've won at Old Trafford here and there, but I think Anfield has always been the bogey, you know. But like I'm saying, for me personally, Arsenal are in a position where I think there's still a lot to play for. And obviously, that's obviously going to now move on to the more of the Carabao Cup preview. But I just want to ask you guys, Dane, I'm going to start with you. Where you are right now, and I know we've spoken about it in the group, but just now, maybe that you've had maybe a bit more time to think about it, Everton results a bit more digested. And given what I've said now, do you think that Arsenal still have a chance of winning the league, going far in the Champions League and maybe getting a cup? Or do you think, what, league might just be too far gone now and let's focus on all the cup competitions?
I think, I have been thinking about it. I think I am more positive after just our discussion. Like, I actually really enjoy our discussions. It makes me less negative about the team because it's actually also like I'm a verbal processor. So when I talk about things, it helps. So just a side note. But I think we have an easy run of fixtures. Our next 5 fixtures in the league are really good. But we said the same about Everton and Fulham, is that we should have picked up points. So we said we were going to go on a run and then we didn't. And like now we have to go on a run. Basically, there's no. I feel like with the injuries we've had this season, we don't have the ability to fight on 4 fronts. So for me, it's like are we being prideful and saying let's go for the league because we tried to go for the league the last 2 years and we didn't make it? Or is it like wise to say let's focus on all the cups? Like if we can win the FA Cup, UCL, and Carabao, that's way better than winning the league, in my opinion, because we've never won the UCL. So it's like we're doing well in the UCL, we're not conceding, whereas in the league we are conceding. So I'm on the fence, but it's like I think I would personally like. I really want to win because we haven't won in Europe since '94. We haven't won the Carabao Cup since '93. So I want to win the Carabao, the EFL, or the League Cup definitely. So I want us to choose a strong lineup on Wednesday, and we literally 3 games away from winning the EFL Cup, which we haven't won in a long time. It's a good boost. It's a good start, and it's also going to be won by the kids. Like, as in, the kids got us going,
Yeah,
and if
team.
we if we can even just have MLS and Ethan Wanyeri finishing it off in the final, not all of the kids have gone all the way through, but the core, and and Wanyeri is one of the top scorers in that competition, and his goal to minute ratio is so amazing. So I just feel this confidence and in my gut about the EFL Cup. Then the FA Cup, we've won it so many times. I would actually like use it to actually experiment on
I don't know
certain
if
things, like
anyone
the
is actually
Martinelli.
like obviously in our.
Sorry.
Sorry, go continue. I had
Yeah,
a bit
no,
of
no.
lag. I had a bit of
I
lag.
would
You can
say,
continue, bro. Sorry.
I would try the Martinelli at centre forward stuff. I would try Tierney in the FA Cup. So I would use the FA Cup as an experimentation place. Still try and do well in the league because the fact is that we don't want to go backwards in the league. So even if we stay second, we don't want to come third or fourth. Like, as you said earlier, we've plateaued a bit. But I feel there's an opportunity because Real Madrid and Man City are not playing well to really win the UCL. So that's the one that I feel like we need to shift gears and focus on is the UCL because we're not conceding in the UCL, but we are conceding in the league. So I'm still on the fence. I'm still not I feel like I've got 10% of hope for the league, but I've got like 70% of hope for the UCL, and I've got 90% of hope for League Cup, and I've got 30% of hope for FA Cup. That's where I'm at the moment.
Look, and then I agree with you from the perspective of the League Cup, right? And why I admitted it many podcasts ago is that I want Arsenal to win the League Cup because I think it'll be a springboard. If Arsenal are still 6 points behind and we win a Carabao Cup in the league, that's a springboard. If Arsenal have a favorable draw in the Champions League and you win the Carabao Cup, it becomes a springboard. And I think that's what's important. I think this team just needs that one taste of success. This Arteta's team needs to win something. They need to know that they can get over the line, whatever competition it is. Because no matter if Arsenal win the Carabao Cup or Arsenal win the league, you may tell you rival fans will not praise us regardless. So win whatever you need to win. They'll find some sort of loophole if we win a quadruple. They'll find some sort of loophole if we win the Carabao Cup only. Oh, you beat Preston and Bolton. You know what I'm saying? So ultimately, I think it's very important Arsenal get a trophy this season. I would say, though, that I'm still confident in the league. I have seen enough from Liverpool and Chelsea. I'll put it to you like this, guys. If Chelsea go 2-0 down against us like they did against Tottenham, do you think they're coming back and beat us? No. Do you think they do that against Liverpool? No. So that's my question. Is like we've seen the vulnerabilities of Chelsea. Look at Liverpool in the last couple of results. They haven't been as 100% as what everyone claims they would. Liverpool are running away with it. They have to play Everton. That's not a guarantee. I would rather have points in the bag or points on the board than games in hand. Let's be honest, Jens. You'd rather have those secured points.
100%.
And then, I mean, your game in hand is the last Merseyside derby midweek at Goodison Park. Like, if you, listen, Liverpool could easily go and slap Everton 5-0. Don't get me wrong. But Everton could easily beat Liverpool. Like, it's just like, for that to be the game in hand, it's just kind of poetic in a weird way. You know, it's where it comes in a very weird time because Liverpool could also be balancing Champions League. Okay, maybe not Champions League, but they could be balancing about a Carabao Cup final somewhere in their league and then this game in hand. So I think, Dano, I'm going to bring you in now as well, bro. It's just that I think, like Dane said, the Carabao Cup is a very important competition this season, more than it has in previous seasons, because I just think that we need a trophy now. Like 2 years ago, it would have been great regardless. But I think now, with the pressure that Arteta is under, in a sense, to deliver something, the Carabao Cup has taken a lot more importance. Dano, just your thoughts, bro. Obviously, I know you like I said in the beginning of the pod, you've been quite critical, but you know, like I said today, now you also have some time to digest the Everton result. You know, maybe hear some of the things that myself and Dana brought up. What is your confidence level that Arsenal can somehow claw themselves back into the league race, which I don't think we're out of, and really end the season, or from this point to the end of the season, actually cap the season off successfully? What's your thoughts? What's your feelings on that?
Yeah, look, I think the league is done. I know it's very early to say, but just based on how I'm seeing things unfold and the stubbornness of the manager, as you know, during I think just after the game, I did mention on the group that I'm Arteta out or have been Arteta out for a while, and there was a bit of a shock value to that. But going back to after the Everton game, I would be content with Arteta winning the Carabao Cup and give him another season. If there are no trophies, though, then for me, it just, I mean, my mind's already made up about Arteta. But if he doesn't win anything, then for me, that's not an excuse. I mean, what Faisal Maresca and slot in, no one gave Chelsea a sniff at the start of the season to show where they are now. Like, it's not been 5 games or 10 games. There's been a big enough sample size. And then I think what Dane touched on in terms of the other competitions of FA Cup and Champions League, I saw an opinion a few months ago showing that, or this guy was saying that Arsenal seems to be designed to be a cup team, which I found was quite an interesting observation. And I think we have a better chance, 100% better chance of going for an EFL and for an FA Cup or a Champions League. Do I think we're going to win any of those? I don't think so. But I think the thing about my belief in the EFL Cup, I think my opinion will be a lot more informed after this week's game against Crystal Palace. I need to see Arteta take it seriously because, we've been knocked out against, who was it last season? I think it was Oxford United who we got knocked out against. So I need to see this manager take it seriously and not, throw these cups in the bin because we have bigger fish to fry.
Sorry, Sorry, Dano, it was West Ham that knocked us out of the Carabao Cup last season, if I remember correctly.
Okay, yeah, but I think the argument still holds. I mean, they were, I think, in the championship. I think that's still, it's not an excuse that none of those cups have been taken seriously, other than the FA Cup, which I celebrated like crazy. I still think it'd be very, very embarrassing if Chelsea or Liverpool took this league. After Liverpool's greatest Premier League, one of their best ever managers left, and then Chelsea given the mess they're in. I think if one of them wins it, and I mean Pep, there's a mess at Man City. I mean, what's it like? No wins in 11 or 1 in 11. So I think
Mm.
if that doesn't turn out to be the case, that's going to be a very very hard discussion that are going to need to be had.
Look, for me, when it comes to that, though, I think the context is very important. I mean, Maresca didn't inherit such a mess as people claim he did, but he inherited a squad that is valued or was purchased for the value of about £1 billion. There's £1 billion investment. Whether those investments are good or not, I mean, ultimately, what Chelsea did is look at Arsenal's project and say, how can we maximize that in the shortest possible time? So what they did is go and try to sign every good young player and give them a young manager with Pochettino. He's not super young, but Poch is still a relatively young manager in terms of his actual age. And then you get someone like Maresca now, who ultimately, look, he had a job before he came to Chelsea. He was coaching Leicester. And then you look at Arne Slot, just won the Eredivisie with finals. So these are not inexperienced managers, it's just that they just come from lower leagues. And, same with Ruben Amorim, bro. He's won the league title at Sporting. So their credentials are technically better than Arteta's. But I'll say it to you like this, they still haven't beaten Arteta. So people to say that it's embarrassing, I think it's just the context of it is that a fully fit Arsenal team this season, I think, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think loses a game. Brighton, if some of the decisions, in my opinion, don't go against us, I think we beat Brighton at the Emirates. I think we beat City at the Etihad. I've spoken to many City fans, which is ironic because you don't think that there are many, but there's actually quite a few. And I've spoken to them, and they all say to me, "Listen, we were going to lose that game at the Etihad." The only games that I can say Arsenal probably deserve to lose were Newcastle and Bournemouth. Like Bournemouth also was like, okay, you're down to 10 men, and maybe you could have been, if it was 11v11 longer in the game, you have a chance. But Newcastle was the one game we were like, oh shit, that was super bad. Like we were actually super poor on the day. And I think my biggest call out to Arsenal fans is, guys, it's a long season. If you're going to be gassed out and tired and not be leaving in December, you're going to lose your head come March, April, because things are going to change. Your emotions are going to be thrown all over the place. And I think it's very important that we just kind of contextualize our season so far. Like I said to you,
It's the hope that kills you, Shannon.
It's not really hope, bro. It's also like realism. It's like, okay, Liverpool have, besides Diego Jota, have been able to play almost the exact same team every week. Chelsea have been able to rest an entire 11 when they play the Conference League every other week. Unfortunately for us, we haven't been able to play our strongest team. And both those teams didn't beat us. And both those teams are still within touching distance in terms of the league. So, again, I'm going to say context is very important when we're looking at this. If Arsenal were playing at their utmost best and at their peak and were still this far behind, I'd be like, oh, yeah, shit, okay, maybe not. But again, the Liverpool really, guys, we ended that Liverpool game with like Miles Lewis, Kelly Thomas, Partey, Kivio, and Ben White as a back four. I mean, fucking hell. Like,
and even
you know what I'm saying?
Shannon,
like
I think we've also forgotten that we were cheated out of basically about 6 to 9 points in the beginning of the season. So imagine if we even had 4 of those points.
And
I know
Dano's not going to buy that excuse.
Yeah, I know it's not an excuse, but it's like it has been a cuck season in terms of red cards, in terms of calls. Like the Liverpool game, there should have been a penalty that we should have gotten. Yeah, so it's just like, but I agree with Ashwin that we just are lacking. We're lacking also intensity. Like I feel like we're tired. We're slow, we're tired, and we don't press as much as we used to. Like I know in 2022, 23, we pressed almost too much, and that's why Man City baited us in and then went through our press and sliced through us, and then that gave a dagger to us. So I actually have to go, Jen. So I wanted to just drop my prediction for the EFL Cup game, and I know it's not totally illogical, my prediction, but it's a purely gut thing. I did put it, I think, on the Facebook group, not on the WhatsApp group. But I said we'd win 4-0. And I just feel like Wanyeri's going to have another masterclass. Like, I think he's like so amped when he gets a start. Like, even with MLS, when he got the start in the Champions League and he got that through ball. When he started in the Carabao, he also did a nice through ball for Sterling. So it's like Wanyeri is going to get a goal, and I believe that MLS is going to get an assist, and I just feel we're going to win 4-0. So it doesn't like follow the form that we're in, but it feels like because it's new players and it's a different competition, I feel like we actually just have less pressure on ourselves in this competition. This competition has just been a breath of fresh air this year, so that's why I'm saying minus 4-0. But I have to shoot, gents.
No problem.
Thanks
No problem.
for
Thanks,
having
Shara,
me.
for coming through, bro. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a later one than usual, but Dana and I will just obviously preview the game tomorrow, and then yeah, we will just discuss like one more topic that I want to bring up. But thanks, shout out, brother. Thanks for coming on the show as always, bro. We'll obviously be in touch with you soon, and you can jump on the Talk Six or another Gunner's Voice podcast, bro. Appreciate you
Awesome.
coming
Thanks
through.
for having me, Shannon. I always enjoy it.
Nah, lovely, bro. Have a good evening.
Cheers.
So obviously, Daniel, bro, it's always just you and I now, but I think, we might as well move on to the Palace game. And I think, Daniel's prediction to some might seem a bit crazy. But obviously, before then, let me get into some comments here. I think it would be unjust to not go to some of the comments that we have here. So, Ernest says, these teams play low blocks against us and we can't break them down. Teams have figured us out. And I think that brings us back to the not being able to play through the lines. We need to have good receivers and good passes, and I think we haven't seen that from Marino just yet. Partey isn't doing it at the level that he used to, and Odegaard is just, again, he's on the fringes, man. Like he's good, his pressing is good. Like it's just that I don't know if the injury is still, taking its toll on him, or maybe it's just like we're saying that we don't rotate enough, so it's like the players are kind of lethargic because they playing so consistently and constantly, where it's like, if, for example, if you decided to start a Sterling and a Nwaneri against Everton on Saturday and then bring on an Odegaard and Saka at 65 minutes, does that not change the dynamic of the game? Sometimes Pep would bench De Bruyne to be able to impact the game with the last 20 minutes. I think Arteta needs to get to that position where he can do that, because I think when he can, he utilizes his squad better. We don't necessarily need a bigger squad. Just utilize them, try different things. Maybe Saka for 20 minutes off the bench might be game changing when the game is players are more tired, just those kind of things. So I just think that's where, in terms of the low block, we just need to find different ways to do it. Ashwin here says, I'm not Arteta out, nor am I Arteta in. I'm on the fence at the moment. I do not find this current team entertaining. And I think that's our biggest problem as Arsenal fans, that the performances aren't there consistently. Because, you go in a week, you beat Sporting, you beat Forest 3-0, Sporting 5-1, West Ham 5-2, and then you get these results with these performances, and you're like, where the hell did this come from? So it's like, what is it? Is it the style of opposition? And maybe it is, because Sporting and West Ham and Forest gave us a lot of transitional opportunities, whereas United, Everton, and Fulham gave us nothing. They were basically parking the bus. And that's where we struggle. And that's why people were calling us set piece FC, because we can't break teams down. And I think it's good to have that in your locker, but you can't rely on set pieces, because it's just not a sustainable thing to do. Yes, we've been good at it, but you're not going to win the league by being the best at set pieces. You're going to have to score from open play. There's some more comments here. Ashwin saying, if we do not win major trophies, we'll lose quality players. I think that's where it comes down to it. I think, that's why I'm saying the Carabao Cup, Daniel, it takes a lot more precedent than what it did maybe 2 years ago. Just even people can laugh, but if Saliba gets a Carabao Cup winners medal, he can be like, okay, shit, this is the start. I'm motivated. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm putting so much emphasis on the Carabao Cup, bro. I'm gonna be shameless. I hope Southampton beat Liverpool. I hope Spurs beat United. And I hope that Brentford beat Newcastle, and that we draw Southampton in the semi-finals, knock them out, and end up against like Brentford in the final. Just for example, I hope we get like the easiest possible run to win it. Like I'm being so shameless, but I just need us to get this trophy in the bag.
Yeah, but also if you look at Mourinho I think when he first went to Chelsea, if you look at Pep when he first came to City, they took the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup very seriously when they like you said, they use it as a springboard to instill some kind of tangible experience
winning
of,
results.
yes, like we got over the line for this, even though it's not seen as one of the biggest trophies, not part of the ordinary treble. It's still such an important thing to get over the line, and when players just don't get over the line, it's gonna really feed into that dressing room, and that's essentially what happened with the great but young squad we had with Nasri,
Wenger.
Fabregas, Van Persie, all those guys. They left because they could see, the club wasn't ambitious enough because of that, unfortunately. But they were proven right.
100%. And look, I think that actually just brings us nicely now onto the Carabao Cup preview. Obviously, Dano,
Mhm.
I'm expecting quite a few changes, bro. I'm expecting, changes in defense, in midfield, and attack. I would start David Raya. I don't want to take any chances.
Mhm.
Tommy Sidford, I
Yeah.
think, yeah, good young player for the future, but he's a goalkeeper, bro. He's gonna have a long career. So him not playing
Mhm.
now the context is important, So I think
Mhm.
getting Raya in. People are saying rest Timber. I mean, if we're playing on Wednesday, then again on Saturday, that's about what, 2.5 days to rest. You
Mm.
know, I
No,
don't know,
it's
maybe not
it's
to play
enough
Timber,
time
but
to rest, and we
retire
don't have
90,
luxury. Yeah.
Exactly, but we unfortunately for us due to injuries, we don't have the luxury of like, okay, I'm going to rotate this one and drop that one, and
Yeah.
either has to be. I think so. I think Timber starts for me. I think Saliba starts for me. I think Kivio starts. I think Lewis Kelly at left back. I think he look good. I would even go for Tierney, man. I mean, like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, when are you going to use players
Yeah.
like Tierney and Sterling if you can't use them in the Carabao Cup? It means you're just never going to play them,
Mhm.
and you're lying to us. So if Arteta, you're not going to
Yeah.
use them, then you might as well sell Tierney in January and let Sterling go back to Chelsea and then please please play them. So, Timber, Saliba, Kivio, and Miles Lewis-Skelly. I just don't think maybe Tierney's fit enough to start a game. I wouldn't be against him starting either. And then midfield, I think I'll go Jorginho. I'll go Jorginho, Marino, and Wanyeri. I think get Marino more minutes. I think he needs the minutes. Marino needs to get minutes, and I think that's what even though he's a bit gassed here and there, he needs to build up that fitness. Wanyeri,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna go Saka on the right, Sterling on the left, and I'm gonna go Havertz up front. I think Jesus. Yes, it sounds good to start him, but I think for example, if you can get a game where it's 2-0 in like 2-0 up at halftime, you can throw Jesus on when Palace are chasing the game a bit more and allow him more chances. But I think to rely on him now when he hasn't scored to be the guy to break the deadlock, I don't know how I feel about that, bro. So,
He's a bit of a
Dano, just
donkey when
just
it
your
comes
thoughts,
to
bro.
finishing.
Any similar changes or anything?
Yeah, I
What would
would.
what would your
I wouldn't
preferred 11
take
be?
a. mm, Sorry, I think Shannon's disconnecting. He's got a connection issue. To answer his question, I wouldn't take a rotative or rotational approach at all. I think it's such an important competition. I think after this game, we're only going to play what would be, I think it's the quarterfinal or the semi-final only next year. I think it would be Feb or like late Jan. So I would do, like Shannon said, I'd do Raya, Saliba, Timber I'd start. I would also start Gabriel. I mean, why not? Like he had those few games of rest when he got injured or whatever. In midfield, I wouldn't even take Jorginho. I think it's going to be quite an intense game, so I don't think he has the legs. I would take Marino. Yeah, I would take Marino, Partey, and I'd do Wanyeri. And up front, I would take obviously Saka. I would take Sterling. We should give him a chance, man. He's on 100K. What's the point of having the guy if you can't play him at all? I mean, he's played so few minutes. And to top that off, I'd put Havertz just for that, aerial mobility. And yeah, I don't trust Jesus to score at all. I think you're on mute, mate. Seems like the referees have intervened again. Yeah, so I don't know. I can't really see the comments, but yeah, the thing is, like Ernest, I don't know what I would do with Timber. How would your lineup be? What would it look like if you had to rest Timber?
Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So Daniel, what I was basically saying, bro, was that Jesus and his partner announced that they're actually having their second kid. Well, she's pregnant, and I know that sounds like ironic now, but I feel like, you know what, bro, if you can't score for like your unborn child, bro, like come on,
Bro,
bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
bro.
when are you gonna score? And I think with Jesus, bro, it's like I don't know, but I think, and listen, I think sometimes Arsenal fans are very quick to support and then sometimes forget players. But I also think sometimes players need to also give Arsenal fans a reason to back them. I think Arsenal fans' loyalty is sometimes blind. That's why some people are on the fence with Martinelli. That's why maybe some people are on the fence with Arteta, because we very much like real believers, bro. Like you get behind it, and then until you don't, then it's just like, nah, screw this. But
Yeah.
I think with Jesus, bro, I think he's overthinking it. He's overthinking his game, bro. Just play your game, bro. Be the player that or maybe he can't. Maybe that's also the problem. Maybe the knee injury
Nah,
is
he's
just
not the guy, bro.
stopping from being that kind of player. Maybe, and unfortunately, maybe he needs to maybe go to a slower league like Serie A, where
Yeah.
he can do it a bit slower. Premier League is fast. Premier League is the fastest league. It's maybe not the most technical. La Liga is probably more technical in terms of the quality of the individual player. Like, if you look at a player's technical ability at Osasuna compared to a guy at like Southampton, the Osasuna player is going to be better. But in terms of the pace of the Premier League, bro, you can't be a passenger in this league. And I think Jesus is now getting to the point where he's now a passenger in our team. And I think with him, just a couple more comments here. I see Ernest is saying Nichols or something, the young right back. Only problem with that is, guys, I think, let's be honest, if Arsenal lose tomorrow, people won't give Arteta any excuses. So I don't want Arteta to give any excuses by saying, oh, I had to play a young right back or whatever. No, play the strongest available team. I know Daniel mentioned
Shannon, did
Gabriel.
you
The only
see
reason
what
I wouldn't play him is because I just don't want him to aggravate the injury.
Shannon, did you see what Arteta said for the
Sorry, what you were saying?
pre-conference for this game? He said, because there was a journalist who asked him, it's coming up on 5 years. He's obviously got the FA Cup and that one trophy. And then Arteta chimed in and said, no, I've got 3. I've got the Community Shields. And that's just doesn't sit right with me. I don't know about you in the comment section.
Listen, I get why Arteta is saying that he's a bit tongue-in-cheek. Don't get me wrong, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. But ultimately, I think what he's saying is that people are forgetting that. I think it's more about people are thinking that Arsenal is suddenly not competitive. And that's what's also irritating me, is that people think we're not competitive anymore. Like, oh, Arsenal just falling apart and they're just collapsing. And it's like, no, like we've actually been competing for the past couple of seasons, like past 2 seasons we've come second. Yes, fair enough, it's not first. And everyone says you don't remember second, but everyone always is only remembering Arsenal's second place finishes. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's more tongue-in-cheek from Arteta. And like, that's another thing. You make a very good point, is that he followed that up by saying, we're not content. We want the biggest trophies. And that's a very good statement and point that he made there, where it's like, yes, guys, we have won maybe an FA Cup when I started and a couple of Community Shields, and you can count them or not. But the goal, and Arteta's always outlined it, but I watched the Sky Sports interview with him a couple of days ago where he said, Arsenal he said himself, we need to win trophies. As a group, we need to win trophies.
Yeah.
Because obviously, it's going to keep us together. It's going to motivate us. It's going to let people believe in what we're doing. So, look, I think it's unfortunate with us. The pressure that's on any Arsenal manager is because we haven't won the league in 20 years, bro. If this was Liverpool or Chelsea even, the pressure is maybe not as intense with regards to winning something, because you're like, oh, bro, I can remember when we won it. Like, Daniel, I'm sure you're my age. You probably knew like your late 20s now, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
So you're my age, bro. You know what I'm saying? The last time we won the league, bro, we were literally kids, bro. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
I wasn't even
like,
supporting
oh my goodness,
Arsenal
we've never
yet.
seen our team.
No.
You get what I'm saying, bro? So that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
shout out, yeah, man.
I think, that's where the pressure comes from. Yeah, that's where the pressure comes from. And it's like you really want Arsenal to win. But I think, first and foremost, I think let's focus on the Carabao Cup. I think the league is still too far. The league ends in May, guys. Like, it's a lot of football left. It's a lot can happen. People are writing City off. City could come back, bro. The league is not as far gone as
Shannon,
people. The thing is, people are kind of, yes, Dan, what's up, bro?
would you take an League Cup and an FA Cup double and not finish in the top four?
No, that's too much of a fall off, bro.
Okay.
You can't not be in the Champions League. Like, if you told me that and finished fourth, if we did that and finished fourth, I'd be like, okay, cool, man. 2 trophies, finish fourth. I mean, what's the difference between second and fourth, technically speaking, in terms of you didn't win anything anyway? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to fall out of let me tell you, bro, you'd rather Arsenal continue to progress in the league than win like an FA Cup and then digress in the league. Like, if you finish sixth but won the FA Cup, you wouldn't be happy, because we finished eighth and won the FA Cup and people were still not happy. So I don't think that trophies are just the be all and end all of terms of what makes Arsenal fans happy. You want to see Arsenal competitive at the top of the league. So if Arsenal, for example, finish 6 points at the top of the league this season, but win the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, I think they constitute a good season. Maybe not where we want it to be, but damn well, could have been way worse. Could end up 6 points,
100%.
no trophy. You get what I'm saying? So
Cool. Yeah.
I think we need to just be very careful. And also, as Arsenal, we need to outline our like ambitions. Some are saying if Arteta doesn't win a trophy, some are saying Arteta needs to win the Champions League and the league. It's like the expectations are everywhere, bro. I think what every Arsenal fan basically is saying is they want Arsenal to be competitive in the league till the end, and competitive in the Champions League till the end, competitive in the League Cup till the end, competitive in the Carabao, in the FA Cup till the end. And that's when you can start to be like, okay, cool. Because look, guys, ultimately, there's only 4 trophies available to every team in England in terms of Premier League. You know what I'm saying? There's only 4 trophies available, or 3 in most cases. If you Arsenal, Liverpool, City, there's 4 trophies available. City are out of the Carabao Cup, that's 1 down. Chelsea are out of the Carabao Cup, and they're all loud. They're forgetting they're also out. So they only have 3 trophies available: the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the League, and the Conference League. So for me personally, I think that, just to sum this whole video up and before we end, is just that I think as Arsenal fans, we are very quick to throw the team up when we're doing well, and very quick to knock them down when we're just getting a bit of adversity. And I think if the last 2 seasons haven't taught us anything, is that there's going to be a lot of twists and turns. Because in 22-23, we thought we were going to go on and win the league by March, April already. And then what happened? Shit came falling down on us. Last season, we thought there's no way we'll catch Liverpool with that 7-point gap. And we finished, 2 points behind City. We went on that miraculous run.
I think we were 5 ahead of
how
Liverpool.
quickly football can change. Football can change very quickly. Yeah, exactly, but we finished quite a far bit ahead of Liverpool as well. So it's like, again, I just think that let us as fans just be a bit more calm. Let's give the manager his, well, in my opinion, earned trust. Arteta has done better every season. Yes, there's always, every season has had its point of adversity, but I don't think he's digressed in any season that he's had so far. So my call is just to all the Gunners out here, just guys, please, man, let's judge the team when it's time to judge.
The process.
When it's come April. Look, it's not even just the process, bro. It's just like, I think that it's very easy, Daniel, to be like, oh no, I want Arteta out because he hasn't won anything. Then what happens if Arteta goes and wins the league and the Champions League? Then what do you, like, for example, not saying now you only, but I'm saying, like, what do the Arteta outers say then? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the beauty of football. You should be allowed to change your opinion. So you sitting here now on the 17th of December, come the 17th of March, and Arsenal in a better position, you're more than welcome to change your position and be like, listen, I actually believe. Or if Arsenal in a way worse position, you should be able to say, listen, Arteta needs to go today, not the end of the season. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think that's how we should judge. I think we should judge the team for where they are at. Right now, we aren't entirely happy. But there's no point saying the season is finished when we have no idea what the season holds. Liverpool could get an injury to Salah and Van Dijk and the season takes a collapse. Chelsea are a few results away from maybe finding out who they truly are. You get what I'm saying? Arsenal, a couple of results from people saying, wow, Arsenal are back. City, it's football, bro. The ball is round, bro. The shit happens, man. Shit happens. But Daniel, obviously, bro, before we end, I just want your prediction for tomorrow's game, bro. Obviously, Arsenal at home to Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup. 9:30 kickoff time, South African time. Thankfully, half an hour earlier than usual, which is, I mean, a huge difference. Just what is your overarching feeling for tomorrow's game, and what do you think the result?
Yeah, I think our performances in cups in general have just been more promising defensively and offensively. I'm going to go with the 3-1 win. I think Havertz will get on the scoreboard. And I think Saka, I very much think so. I don't know who the third will be, but I do see Crystal Palace scoring. It is at home, correct? It's at the Emirates.
Yeah, Emirates. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, then I see a 3-1. And then also tomorrow night with the Arsenal fan club, we've got the game going on at 9:30 at Bossa Bar. So please come through if you want. I know it's festive season now, so a lot of us don't have work to do the next day. It's a good vibe. You guys should come through.
And 100%, guys, I can definitely attest to that. I think Barca has been one of the better places to be watch an Arsenal game. Unfortunately for me, I haven't been there and we've won, so I don't know. Maybe I should stay away.
Stay away,
I'm
man.
not too sure if I'm the one that's causing us to win. But definitely, guys, if you haven't had the chance to go to Barca, guys, I know sometimes it might be a bit of a stretch for some people, but especially as the Arsenal South African group, especially South Africa, Arsenal Johannesburg group, I think it'd be cool if everyone can just get together, not every game week. Obviously, it's a midweek game, so it's a bit tricky. If you're able to, guys, go through network with people. There's a lot of cool people that you meet, a lot of people in different walks of life, and it was really great to see, especially when we did the Robert Pires event. When you saw how many Arsenal fans made their way just on a Wednesday evening to check Robert Pires. That was really dope. Myself and Dano were there together. Dano came with his girlfriend even. So I mean, well, ladies, you're welcome too. We don't discriminate here as one Arsenal family. My prediction for tomorrow, I think I'm gonna go 2-0. I don't think it'll be so straightforward. Ideally, the next two games against Palace, I just want two professional performances, because you just know it's always tricky when you play a team back to back. It's like it's always slightly tricky. So I think for us, we need to go there tomorrow and kind of put in a performance that makes these guys think, "Fuck, I don't want to play these guys again on Saturday." Like, oh shit, not these guys again. I don't want them to come and be like, no, we gave them hope. It must be, for example, if we win 2-0, it should be soul sapping, where it's like, flip, we couldn't get on the ball, we didn't create anything.
Yeah.
And I think Ashwin or Ernest gave their prediction saying 4-1 here. Someone said Ashwin said 3-0. So look, a lot of confident Gunners in the chat, and as well as Dane obviously giving his 4-0 prediction, Dano giving his 3-1. I'm saying 2-0. So I think everybody's predicting an Arsenal win, and I think the boys will come through and deliver. But everybody, that is a wrap for today's show. It's actually really good to be back. It's been a while since I've had a couple of shows going. I think festive period has kept a lot of people busy, but obviously we will hope to get some more shows. Dano, bro, thank you so much for coming through, bro. It's been an honor to have you. I think it's your first show. I think it was great. I think you really got some of the comment section going. Ernest, Ashwin, bro, if you guys want to get onto the show, please do get in touch with me. Ernest, I know you've been trying to get on the show, and I do apologize, bro, but I will definitely try to get you on the next episode. So if you guys are keen, obviously, if you know, two of the Arsenal groups. If not, just leave your comment on the show, on this video, after we've ended the live video, and then I'll get in touch with you there. But everybody, from myself, Shannon, and everyone here, Golden Goal Media, guys, this has been the Gunner's Voice podcast. And always, guys, remember, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and it's good to be a Gunner. Dano.
Just guys.